After take 47, I am getting a little bit crazy. And I am at the point where I just don't want to anymore. So, boo, let's try this. Okay, I know, I am super late, almost too late to the game when it comes to covering the ZTE Axon, since it was just released a lot later here in Germany. But without the super nice support from Cyberport, I wouldn't have been even able to get my hands on it in the first place. And the one most important thing that counts for me is that I can review it after all. And if that's a little bit later than anyone else, totally fine with me, since I was personally so interested in this phone, since from a spec standpoint it sounds almost too good to be true. And in this first impressions video after about 1 day, I want to let you know if this could be the phone that I was wishing for it to be. A little bit of a spoiler. So far, it looks a lot like it. And since I don't want to cover everything here, I want to leave a few things out in the open for the review. I just want to cover the highlights, and one of the highlights is definitely this design and build quality, because it feels super premium, super solid, but also very thin due to the nice curve here where you hold on to, and very, very compact, because as you can see here, the bezel quite small, and the top and bottom chin actually small as well, considering that this has front-facing stereo speakers. So overall, I have to say this is one of the nicest in-hand feeling phones, and also one of the easiest to handle phablets ever. And I would say I've never had a phablet that I've enjoyed more to hold on in hand, because everywhere smooth and round with the 2.5D glass, and everything else is just rounded up very, very nicely. And one thing that I personally like a lot is the button placement. Perfect position for me for both buttons. Power button and also volume rocker, amazing. Also, fingerprint reader works reliable and is placed actually really nice. I like that it's kind of recessed, so I'm not praising it anymore. I will leave a little bit praise left for the review after all. Okay, the display absolutely deserves the same as well, because 1440p IPS, no it's not, because it's AMOLED and 5.5 inches. And the one thing that I like, since it is an AMOLED, is the fact that we have a screen effect option where you can set the color temperature. Because usually I tend to think that AMOLEDs are too warm and I could set it to cold, but actually in this case, normal is absolutely fine. And we have one thing that I really, really know to appreciate as well, and that is the natural, colorful and gorgeous modes. Because if you just don't want it as oversaturated like AMOLEDs usually are, just select natural. If you want it though something like more on a Samsung device, you will get gorgeous. I think with colorful they actually set a really nice balance. So really, really nice done. I absolutely love the display so far. Really sharp, great viewing angles, calibration, brightness, everything top notch. And I would just say let's get to the next highlight here, and that is the sound. And yeah, be seated properly. This speaker system is so good, because it's not just loud, it's also very full and rich. There is an option where you can set Dolby Atmos. I actually turned it off because it sounded a little bit more open, a little bit clearer, and it didn't really diminish anything else. So speaker, one of the best that I've ever heard, especially since it's not just loud like for example the Nexus 6P, but it sounds a lot richer and nicer. Absolutely top. I can't wait. I can't wait to get my hands on it and actually try the headphone jack. I just didn't get the time to that yet. But sound, speaker top. So performance is the next thing that I cannot say anything bad about it, because if we clear everything, try a few apps, as you can see the launch times are absolutely fine. Absolutely great. Maybe not the very fast one. It doesn't seem super crazy fast, but it seems in line with the rest of the good ones here. So all is gone, all is good, all is good. But now let's check a few things and actually allow this. And yeah, I'm messing up here. Let's check the scrolling here. And even though it's still rendering, as you can see here, okay, it still stutter a little bit. So give it a second. Okay, as you can see here, super nice and buttery smooth. Absolutely great. And I'm sorry if the screen flickers, but that's just a habit of the AMOLED displays on camera. But absolutely top. I've seen little to no lag at all, as you can see here. Absolutely buttery smooth and super consistent, which is maybe even more so important these days, because a lot of phones these days are super smooth, but just not on a consistent level like this one. And it's also very snappy, quite snappy, I would say. Maybe not the very fast one, because I noticed, for example, here there's sometimes a delay, especially if I do my gestures. As you can see here, this I've seen definitely a little bit faster already. my gesture switching, but it's not bad enough that I would have to complain about it. Not, absolutely not, because the overall performance experience was absolutely great. It was super smooth, reliable, consistent, with pretty much no lag at all, and just the fact that it's maybe not quite as snappy as some phones out there, no problem, because the experience is what counts. Battery, so far it actually looks promising, because the first 25% went away quite early, but that was due to the whole syncing, setup process and everything else. But after that it actually looks very, very promising, so I have high hopes for that. And if I get solid 4.5 to maybe even 5 hours of screen on time, I would be more than pleased. I don't expect anything more. If I get more, anything else is a really nice bonus. Software, something that I actually want to cover a little bit, because it is actually what I would like to call an enhanced themed stock Android, because as you can see here, this looks a lot like stock Android. This looks in theory a lot like stock Android, just a little bit themed, and the settings same as well. This is the frequently used, and here we have all settings, which also just looks themed. And we have a few nice additions, like for example in the display, like I showed off, we have also assertive display. We have the cast screen, of course. We have changing the font, something you don't get on stock. And for the notifications, for the sound, you have some options where you can use the Dolby Atmos, for example, here the software. And the rest though actually looks and feels a lot like stock. You have a few nice additions, themes, for example, the Mi Pop option, gestures where you can see, for example, double tap, screen wake, three finger pinch and all that. And I don't want to get too much into that, but just to tell you one thing, I've heard from a few people that the software is kind of the compromise if you want a cheap, or let's say super affordable, I would actually like to call it super affordable than cheap, flagship phone. And usually you compromise on the software. I cannot agree at all with that, because I don't see any problem at all with the software for right now. It feels like stock Android, actually better, since it has a few more options. I can change the buttons and so on, which are actually one thing that I want to go into, because a few people said that the buttons are too close to each other, but actually it makes it way easier to reach the back button or the back button here, because you can actually reverse that if you want to, and have the recent apps button here or there. And the power button works great. And from a software standpoint, I'm fully pleased. Of course, the one thing that you could consider, maybe the updates will come maybe a little bit later. I can't just say if not. And then we have the camera that I didn't try at all yet. Up for the review. I've already stretched this a little bit too long. All I can say for right now, and I've said it already in the beginning, after using it for one day, I've not seen a single point where I think it will disappoint me. I know there is hard critics on the camera, which I don't really mind. If it's even complete utter bullshit, I could live with that. But if it's just decent or good, totally fine for me, because that's not that important for me. Maybe it is for you. Of course, I leave that out in the open, but the rest, design, display, sound, yes, performance, yes, and battery life seems even good, with a totally solid, satisfying software. What else is there to wish for? Yes, maybe the camera, but we will see about that. And I don't want to stretch this any further, because I have already stretched it too long. I hope you liked it. I hope this was helpful until I get everything done in the full review, and then I will cover a lot more. If you want to know some specific things, leave that down in the comments below. Leave it a like if you want to, but you don't have to, but it would be nice. And subscribe to the channel if you want to. And yeah, that was it. Boom. I wanna use this phone, and I will actually take maybe a little bit longer to get the review done, because I don't wanna send this back too soon. Okay, until next time, bye.